Grand Rapids. Thank you for joining us this evening. I'm your anchor, Josie Sabo.
And I'm your other anchor, Sean Francis. And because you are all still recovering from your tryptophan overdose, we are bringing you the top local, national, and world news stories that you may have missed.
You're welcome, Grand Rapids. This is
NewsFlash. Tonight's top story, Biden announced travel restrictions in light of the new Omicron variant of the coronavirus that was discovered in South Africa last week. The Dow also dropped 1,000 points on Friday, reportedly over fears of this new variant. However, the one thing we can all take comfort in is at this rate, the next Greek letter in the alphabet to have a COVID variant supposedly would be pi. So that's just in time for the holidays, right? Please get vaccinated and wear a mask. Whew.
The other big story was that the University of Michigan finally broke the 10-year losing streak against Ohio State, and only a few days after Coach Harbaugh's pants caught on fire. Clearly, this must have literally lit a fire under the team and motivated them. MSU was upset because they tried the same method with several coaches and still lost to Ohio by 49 points.
Tough break. In other sports news, LeBron James was fined $15,000 for his obscene gesture made after scoring the winning three-point shot in overtime last week. That gesture in question involved James grabbing, well, let's just say, a different set of balls that were not league-compliant size. However, unlike other recent controversies, those balls were properly inflated. Like a 5, 6, 7-year-old joke, I guess.
U.S. Customs seized nearly 4,000 glass bombs from a shipment arriving at the D.C. International Airport coming from China that were scheduled to arrive at an address in L.A. The order, which were labeled as gravity pipes, were likely to be missed by the recipient.
Yeah. Black Friday, famously a weekend where a bunch of people are hoping for a steal of a deal, but some shoppers took that phrase to heart. A Home Depot in California was victim to what police are referring to as smash and grab robberies, where a group of thieves simply ran in, made off with a bunch of hammers, crowbars, and other tools, and then got into a getaway car. Meanwhile, other stores, such as Nordstrom's, Apple Store, and multiple Best Buys were burglarized by mobs of people, sometimes in groups of 30. Stealing hammers and crowbars, while others are stealing security cameras and tablets and televisions. Man, this sounds like a real grift of the Magi situation.
Last week, the new O.J. Simpson sat down with Fox News' Tucker Carlson for an exclusive interview. In related news, Netflix released the Jonas Brothers Family Roast. So in case you were looking for entertainment over the holidays, we had multiple choices of whiny virgins and a gratuitous circle jerk.
President Joe Biden recently ordered a record 50 million barrels of oil released from America's strategic reserve, aiming to bring down gasoline costs. There are roughly 605 million barrels of, this is a real term, sweet and sour petroleum in the reserve, but no possible word on the release of egg drop petroleum or General Tso's petroleum.
Speaking of reserves, the Canadian group Quebec maple syrup producers recently announced it was releasing about 50 million pounds of its strategic maple syrup reserves. There's no word on whether Colombian pancake mix farmers will have to tap into their reserves as well.
Last week, Dollar Tree, one of America's last remaining true dollar stores, announced it is raising its prices from $1 to $1.25 on the majority of its products by the first quarter of 2022. And this is apparently because they were bought out by Sixth Third Bank. It's really just two.
So the House censured Representative Paul Gosar by posting a video of himself killing Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez with a sword. In his defense, Gosar claimed that he didn't have a violent bone in his body and the sword was just symbolic. Symbolic of what, though? Isn't a sword traditionally a symbol of a penis? So what is Gosar trying to symbolize? That he wants to go after AOC with his giant mythical penis? Somehow, that seems even worse. Glad he's censured and we'll never hear from him again. Oh, wait. That's not what that means?
No.
So excuse us for a minute. Okay.
Better. The state of Michigan revoked a Garden City woman's daycare license. Why? Well, they found out that a child that she was watching put another child in the clothes dryer, then turned it on and let him spin. Now, everything's okay. Don't worry. The child came out of the wash just fine, not at all hurt, just a little crispy. Yeah, it's just like my cousin when we got back from Cancun, dizzy and burnt.
Those character. A California man ordered some quilted northern toilet paper from Amazon. He got his order and then the delivery man left, and he also left the white delivery van in the customer's driveway, and the key still in the ignition. Now the man said the check engine light came on when he started the van, and that may be why the delivery man abandoned it, but after 4 days the van still remains in the driveway. The customer said he moved it a little so he could get his car in and out of the garage. Now, I'm not sure about this, but there's some law that says if Amazon delivers something and you didn't order it, you still get to keep it, right?
Yeah.
I think this man just got himself a free white panel van with only 400 miles on it.
Hey.
What do you think, Sean?
Yeah, only 400 miles. What do I think? Well, I would drive 500 miles and I would drive 400 more just to be the man who leaves a van that breaks down hard right at your door.
That's enough now.
That's enough now.
Okay, you're gonna
That's
give me
enough
earworms,
now.
Sean. Okay, white panel van. Why not paint free candy on the side of it to see how fast the police come investigate?
Speaking of illegal porking, a man from a small New York village is fighting City Hall. The issue? They want him to get rid of his emotional support pig. Laverne Flatt has filed all the legal paperwork to keep his 100-pound pot-bellied pig Ellie at home, but the village keeps insisting that Ellie is livestock, not an emotional support pig.
That's ridiculous. Almost everyone I know has an emotional support pig at one point or another.
Really? Like who?
Me, I had an emotional support pig once. His name was Wilbur, and he was a great comfort to me in my hour of need.
Oh, really? What crisis were you going for that you needed a pig?
I was hungry, and Wilbur was delicious.
I see. So, what you're saying is that the man in New York, he should be able to bring home his own bacon.
Yeah, you don't want to play tug of war with a pig, because you know what you'll get? Pulled pork.
Oh boy. I can't believe I have to read this. You ham.
A South Rockford, Michigan woman has pleaded guilty to solicitation of murder and using a computer to commit a crime after she used a fake website called Rent a Hitman to try and solicit the murder of her former husband. When filling out her online form, she started out strong by using a pseudonym, but soon threw caution to the wind as she entered her real information at the end of her service request. Webmaster Bob Ines, who created the fake website as a school project, reported her to Michigan State Police, who used an undercover trooper to meet her and arrest her after she offered to pay $5,000 to have her ex-husband killed. You might be thinking, what a dumb, but you might feel differently after you peruse that website. This website has all the bells and whistles of a modern functional site. The annoying cookie policy pop-up shows up, informing the user that the site is 100% HIPAA compliant. But rather than referring to the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act we've all learned to sign and ignore at the doctor's office, HIPAA on this website stands for Hitman Information Privacy and Protection Act of 1964.
Wow.
It sounds so official. No wonder she was taken in.
Right.
If one is going to hire a hitman, one might as well hire one who crosses all of his T's and dots all of his I's, right?
Yeah, this website is pretty incredible. They have even have user testimonies.
Yeah, so convincing.
Yeah, Phil M. from Florida. Guido and his public relations crew were able to resolve a 5-year dispute in a matter of days. Highly recommended. Yeah, Laurel L. from Arizona, and they're all perfectly pixeled out. That's
censored for your protection.
Yep, exactly, for safety and confidentiality. Laura S. from Arizona. Caught my husband cheating with the babysitter, and our relationship was terminated after a free public relations consultation. I'm single again and looking to mingle. Thanks, Guido. And then Fernando M. from Kansas said, my business schedule is too busy to get my hands dirty with human resources issues. So I consulted with RAH and they handled my disgruntled employee issue promptly while I was out of town on vacation. Gracias, RAH.
You know, I think it's a pretty good website. I would totally understand why she trusted it. In fact, I have some problems with my roommate, and I might bookmark this to come back later. All right, moving on to any stories.
Continuing the saga of the GOP versus PBS, When registration and dates for next year's annual Conservative Political Action Conference, or the CPAC, in Orlando was released, the organizers made it a point to announce that Big Bird Elmo and the rest of the Sesame Street gang were banned from the event after the controversial children's show. This is 100% real. Encouraged vaccines, and they also apparently induced rage because they introduced a new character, Ji Young, a Asian American puppet character, to add representation to the show. I think we have a picture. There she is. And help address nationwide anti-Asian prejudice that has been on the rise over the last few years. And apparently these acts of inclusivity and compassion were just too much for the Republican Party to take, and they have rebutted by announcing a keynote address from MAGA Gruff, the anti-vax dog.
Christchurch, New Zealand is letting go its official city wizard after more than 2 decades. In other news, New Zealand has an official city wizards, apparently. Ian Brackenbury Channel has been on the city payroll since 1998, receiving roughly $11,000 annually to provide acts of wizardry and other wizard-like services. Apparently, the end of his tenure was partially brought about by offensive remarks about hitting women. For the record, he's against it, but because they, quote, bruise too easily.
That's a direct quote.
Don't worry though, if I know anything about New Zealand wizards, he'll return next election year as Brackenbury the Red.
Yeah.